Hey, night listener. Tonight we enter the shadows. The streetlight outside your window flickers once, then goes out. Rain streaks across the glass like fingerprints from a hand you don't remember touching. Somewhere down the alley, a cat yowls. A siren wails in the distance, long and low, like a warning. Inside your apartment, everything is still, almost too still. You've been sitting in the dark for over an hour. No music, no television, just the dull hum of your own thoughts trying to forget what they always return to. And then you hear it. 3 knocks. Not loud, not urgent, just familiar. A knock like that doesn't come from a stranger. That's the kind of knock that knows you. You don't move. Not yet. Instead, you glance at the hallway mirror. Your reflection stares back, tired, hollow, worn thin by years of pretending you didn't do what you did. But tonight, the mirror reflects something else, to a shadow just beyond the door. If this story found you, maybe it's because you've been followed too. You stand up slowly. The air feels heavier than it should. Your hand reaches the door but stops short of the knob. Behind you, the grandfather clock ticks once. You never said that thing. Why is it ticking now? You turn the lock, open the door. Nothing, just an envelope on the ground. No name, no return address, but your fingers tremble when you pick it up because you already know what's inside. So, before we vanish into this mystery, like the video and subscribe only if you can handle the truth buried beneath the lies. Comment where you're listening from and tell me, this are you chasing the truth, the thrill, or justice? Now lock your doors, take a deep breath, and follow me into the dark. You bring the envelope to the kitchen and set it under the weak yellow light. Your hands feel dirty. You check. They're clean, but the sensation lingers, like soil under the nails, like something you never really scrubbed off. Inside the envelope is a photograph, a little blurry, a little too precise. It's her, standing by your car on the night she disappeared. Headlights in the background. Your headlights, you knew, but pretended you didn't. You flipped the photo. Something's written on the back in red pen. I remember everything. You drop it like it's hot. It flutters to the floor like a dead moth. Your mind goes back to that night. The way the forest swallowed the sound of her voice. The way your shovel felt heavier when it came back up. You swore the evidence was gone. You buried it 6 feet deep, behind a veil of alcohol and alibis. You picked a spot no one would find. You memorized the trees like they were grave markers. You lit a match in your memory and burned every detail. But someone didn't forget, and someone wants you to remember. You look out the window. Across the street, a man in a dark raincoat stands under the dead streetlight, not moving, not walking away, just watching. Everyone lies, especially the quiet ones. You grab your coat, your keys, your courage. If someone wants to dig up the past, you're going to find out how deep they're willing to go. You take one last look at the photo. That face, those eyes. You buried her. So why does it feel like she buried you? The dirt under your nails. The rain hasn't stopped. It drips steadily from the brim of your hood as you pull off the main road. Tires crunching over gravel, slick with mud. Headlights cut through mist like weak memory through trauma, just enough to make things worse. You told yourself you'd never come back here, but here you are. The woods haven't changed. Trees still lean like gossiping strangers, whispering old sins through their branches. The same rusted gate creaks on cue, as if it remembers what you did, as if it's been waiting. You park by the clearing, The clearing, the one place you should never visit again. And that's when you see it. The ground where you buried her isn't ground anymore. It's been dug up, sloppy at first, then deeper. There's no grass, just torn earth, the smell of rot and rain, and a shallow depression where something used to be. You step closer, boots sinking, mud clings like guilt, and there, half buried, something glints beneath a layer of wet leaves. A bracelet, silver, broken clasp, hers. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Your stomach turns cold. The bracelet was on her wrist when you left her here. You're sure of it, so why is it up here now, glistening like a relic of judgment? What if you've been the suspect all along? You glance behind you, nothing but trees, no footsteps but your own. Still, you feel it. Eyes on your back, watching, calculating. Your hands start to tremble again, same as they did when you held the shovel. Back then, you told yourself it was the cold. That lie doesn't work tonight. Everyone lies, but the dirt doesn't. You drop to your knees and dig, forgetting the rain, forgetting the cold. You claw through mud and roots and worms until your fingers ache. And then you find it, the shovel, the one you used, the one you left buried with her. But now it's clean, polished, set upright like a marker. There's a note duct-taped to the handle. Try again. You don't scream. Screaming would make this real. Instead, you sit back on your heels and stare into the hole, except it's not just a hole anymore. Someone's widened it. Someone's been here, rearranging your crime like furniture in an old memory. Your eyes scan the surrounding trees. The rain isn't hiding you, it's hiding them. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You stand and back away slowly. The wind groans overhead, like a breath being held. Thunder rumbles in the distance. A flicker of lightning turns the woods white for a second, and in that second, you see a figure, draped in black, face obscured, standing just where you stood that night, right where you left her. They don't move, but they know you see them. You blink and they're gone. You're not imagining this. You're not safe. You never were. You retreat to the car, heart pounding, doors locked, engine on. But your eyes return to the open grave. You buried her, but someone has dug up the past. You grip the steering wheel. The dirt under your nails isn't fresh. It's just back, her face in the rear view. You drive. You don't remember starting the car. You just remember fleeing. Mud streaks the floor mats. Your fingers leave wet prints on the wheel, and the photograph from earlier lies on the passenger seat like a threat. The wipers drag across the windshield in a rhythmic groan. The road ahead is empty, but your eyes keep darting to the mirrors, not for traffic, for her. Every time you glance at the rear view, your stomach twists. There's no one there until there is. Just a flash, a smudge, a shape. Then it's gone. You blink hard, shake your head. You're tired, you're paranoid, but you're not wrong. It was her, face pale, lips parted, eyes though locked on yours. She looked exactly as she did that night when her last breath fogged the air between you. When her hand slipped from yours into the earth, you knew, but pretended you didn't. You pressed the gas harder. Lights blur as your mind spins. You're not haunted by guilt. You're haunted by something worse, unfinished business. Your phone buzzes in your pocket. You fish it out, still watching the road. Unknown number. No message, just a missed call. You check voicemail. A single word plays through static. Murderer. You slam on the brakes. The tires screech. The car fishtails slightly. Then stillness. The only sound now is the ticking of your engine cooling, and your breath shallow, trembling. You scan the road behind you, empty. Yet every fiber of your body screams that you're not alone. Your headlights reflect off something in the distance. You squint. There a photo, pinned to a road sign. You get out, step into the rain again. The photo is laminated. The same image as before, but this time, you're in it too. Her and you, standing together, backlit by the trunk of your car. A shadowed figure stands in the background, one you don't recognize. You stare at the photo as if it will rewrite the past. Then you flip it over. Another message, scrawled in red. You were never the only one there. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The world tilts. You've told yourself the story so many times, you started to believe it. That it was just you, that no one else saw, that what happened died with her in that hole. But now, what if someone else saw everything? What if they've been watching ever since? You hear something behind you, a whisper, a branch. You turn fast. Nothing. The wind picks up. Something rustles in the trees. Your instincts say run, but your body is frozen, not with fear, but with something deeper recognition. Everyone lies, especially the ones who claim they're alone. You tear the photo down, shove it in your pocket, and get back in the car. The rearview mirror swings slightly from the force of your door, and just for a moment you see her again, sitting in the back seat, smiling, as if she never left. You close your eyes, count to 3, open them, empty, but you don't look again. You don't dare. The past has a way of following you. The photograph that shouldn't exist. Back at your apartment, the silence is suffocating. You double lock the door, close the curtains, turn off every light except the one over the kitchen sink, the only place that still feels neutral, unsuspicious, clean. Your clothes are still damp. Mud flecks the hallway floor. Your shoes leave a trail like breadcrumbs back to the past. You peel them off and toss them in the tub, not caring about the mess. You have bigger problems. The photo burns in your pocket. You take it out again, lay it flat on the table beside the first one, side by side. They hum with implication. One showed her. This one shows both of you. From an angle you don't remember, from a distance you didn't consider. Someone was watching. Someone had a camera. Someone knew. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You checked the timestamp, etched faintly at the bottom right corner. Same night, same time, a minute apart. You press your palms to your eyes and lean over the sink. Cold water, deep breaths. This was supposed to be over, buried, forgotten. But now the evidence is showing up like it never left, like it's been curated for you. One artifact at a time. You dry your hands and glance across the table again. There's another envelope. You didn't see it before. You swear it wasn't there when you walked in. But now it's right next to the photos, sealed, stamped with the red fingerprint. Your breath catches. You don't touch it. Instead, you stare. What if you've been the suspect all along? You tear it open with the edge of a knife. Inside is a third photo. Dark, blurry, a basement, maybe a furnace, and a figure limp, slouched, hooded. You can't make out the face, but you recognize the jacket. Yours, the one you threw away the night after it happened. The one stained with blood and dirt and fear. You tossed it in a dumpster 2 towns over. You were sure it was gone. And yet, there's a sticky note on the back. She bled more than you thought. It was never about the truth. It was about control. The walls feel closer now. The air thinner. You pace. This is a game. No worse. It's a reenactment. Someone is reconstructing the murder piece by piece, photograph by photograph, memory by memory, and you are the unwilling star of this sick revival. A sudden knock, 3 taps, the same rhythm from last night. You freeze, knife still in hand. You creep toward the peephole. No one there, but taped to the outside of the door a Polaroid. You pull it down, hands shaking now. It's a photo of your living room, from outside, through the window, from tonight. The blinds were closed. Weren't they? You rush to the window, yank them shut again. You scan the street. A figure in a hoodie walks casually down the sidewalk. Could be anyone. Could be them. Everyone lies, especially the ones who act like they're just passing through. You step back, the Polaroid in hand. There's something else scribbled along the white border. Smile. You're always being watched. You retreat into the bedroom, sit on the edge of the bed, lights off. The knife is still in your hand. Outside, rain taps the windows again. Somewhere out there, someone is documenting everything. And suddenly, you wonder, what else did they see that night? And what else are they waiting to show you? A glove in your mailbox. By morning, the rain has stopped, but the air feels worse, too still, like the pause before a verdict. You didn't sleep. You didn't even try. You sat up all night in the dark, clutching the knife, watching shadows crawl across your apartment. Your mind keeps turning over the photos, the figure in the mirror, the sound of the knock echoing like a slow countdown. You want to believe this is paranoia, a bad dream, trauma resurfacing in the form of hallucinations. But then you remember the photos, the Polaroid, the bracelet, the shovel. No, this is Val, and someone is orchestrating it. You step into the hallway. The carpet feels wrong under your feet, like it's hiding something just beneath the fibers. The elevator blinks out of order, like it always does when you need it most. You take the stairs, each step sounding louder than it should. Outside, the sky is bleached gray. The world looks normal, obscenely so. Joggers pass you by. A dog barks. Somewhere, someone is arguing on their phone. And yet, you cross the lot to your mailbox, heart already sinking. You fumble with the key. The metal door swings open and inside, sitting neatly on top of junk mail and bills, is a single black leather glove. You knew, but pretended you didn't. It's her glove, not a copy, not a coincidence. The glove, you remember it because she dropped it that night when she stumbled. You remember picking it up, then tossing it into the trees, like everything else. But now it's here, delivered, like a message. You lift it slowly. It's cold, damp, but there's something inside. A folded piece of paper. You pull it free. I wonder what else you forgot. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You glance around. A car across the street idles too long. A man sits behind the wheel, sunglasses on. He's not looking at you, but he hasn't moved either. You tuck the glove into your coat pocket and walk away, pretending you don't notice. You pretend a lot of things. Back in your apartment, you lay the glove on the table next to the other relics. It's starting to look like an evidence locker, one only you know exists, one only you can't escape. What if you've been the suspect all along? You sit, try to think. Who could be doing this? Who knew enough? Who hated you enough? You cross names off in your mind one by one. Old friends, her family, anyone who saw the cracks in your story but said nothing. And then a name surfaces. Caleb, her brother. He hated you, never said it, but you saw it in the way he never made eye contact, the way his hands stayed clenched when you were in the room. You remember his silence at the funeral, how he stared past you like you were already dead. But Caleb left town, moved out west, cut contact with everyone. Didn't he? You grab your laptop, search his name, no new social profiles, no job listings, no address, but a news article pops up. Local man found dead in storage unit, suspected overdose. 3 weeks ago. Your pulse stops. You click the article. No photos, but the name matches. Caleb Munro, age 32, dead. So it's not him, unless someone wanted you to think he was gone, unless the overdose was planted, unless the obituary was bait. Everyone lies, especially the ones who disappear. You shut the laptop and stare at the table. The glove, the photos, the Polaroid, each item more personal than the last, each one a step closer. You think back to the night she died. You weren't alone. You remember arguing, yelling. You remember the sound of branches snapping. You told yourself it was just the wind. But what if it was footsteps? You grab your keys again. This time, you're not waiting. You need to go back to the beginning. Not the woods, not the apartment. The bar, the one where that night started, where the story began to unravel. You don't know what you're looking for, but you're sure someone left something behind, and you're starting to believe it might have been you. Your alibi falls apart. The bar looks smaller than you remember, colder, too. Same chipped wood on the front steps, same flickering neon sign that used to hum like a lullaby to the drunk and the damned. Back then, it felt like the kind of place where sins could drown quietly in whiskey. Tonight, it feels like a confession booth. You step inside. Everything's familiar and completely off. The lighting's too dim, the crowd too thin, the air too still. There's a weight to the silence, like everyone knows something you don't. Or maybe something you tried to forget. You slide into a booth in the back, the one you always sat in, the one closest to the emergency exit just in case. From here, you can see the bar where she smiled at you that last night. You can almost hear her laugh, that soft, sarcastic one that made people think she wasn't paying attention when she was. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The bartender approaches. He's new. You don't recognize him. You drinking or remembering, he asks. Both. You reply. You order something cheap and golden, but you don't touch it. You just stare at the grain in the table, waiting for the past to rise from its shallow grave. And it does. A voice behind you, low, calm, too calm. Funny seeing you here. You turn. It's Darren. You haven't seen him since that night. The night he told the cops you'd been with him the whole time. The night he said you left early, a little drunk, but nothing weird. He was your alibi. But now, he looks at you like a man holding a secret with teeth. You lied. You say before you can stop yourself. He smirks. Did I? What are you doing here? He slides into the booth across from you, uninvited, unbothered, like you owe him something. He places something on the table, a phone, old, burnt around the edges, cracked screen. He pushes it toward you. You hesitate, then pick it up. The screen lights up. A video begins to play. You, her, arguing, and behind the camera, Darren's voice. She said, "No, man, let it go." The clip ends. Silence crashes down like a verdict. You look up. Darren's not smiling anymore. "She called me that night," he says. "Told me she was scared. Told me what you said, what you did. She was drunk." You whisper, "She was scared." He snaps, "And I covered for you." You shake your head. "You said I was with you because I thought she was gone. I thought it was over." But now he leans forward. Now someone's digging, and you better pray they don't reach me. You can't breathe. What if you've been the suspect all along? You press your hands to your face. The phone still buzzes faintly in your palm. The proof you never knew existed. The one piece of evidence that could undo everything you buried. Darren stands, tosses cash on the table. You should leave town, he says. Before the dirt starts talking louder than you can lie, you stare at his back as he walks out. Everyone lies, especially the ones who said they were helping. You glance around the bar. Everyone's pretending not to watch you, but their silence feels loaded now, like they've already heard the story, and they're just waiting for the ending. You leave through the back. The alley smells like sour beer and rust. In the corner, something catches your eye. A lighter, engraved. Her initials. You kneel and pick it up. It still works, still flicks to life with a flame that dances too eagerly. And on the brick wall above where it lay, a message, in chalk, still warm, isn't it? You stagger back. It was never about the truth. It was about control. Your alibi just shattered. And now, the only thing protecting you is the person who knows everything, and they're not hiding anymore. The screaming clock, back at your apartment. The air has shifted. It's not just the cold. It's something deeper, like the building itself has heard the news, like the walls are holding their breath. You shut the door behind you, double lock it out of instinct. But even that doesn't feel safe anymore. Not with Darren's words still echoing in your head. Not with the image of that lighter still burning behind your eyes. You toss your coat onto the chair. It slides off and lands in a heap on the floor. And that's when you hear it. Tick. You freeze. Tick, tick. The sound is steady, mechanical, too precise. You follow it slowly through the darkened hall to your bedroom. The noise gets louder with every step. Not a wristwatch, not a kitchen timer. It's the old metronome, the one from the music room, the one you threw out with the rest of her stuff after the funeral. It's on your nightstand, swinging, tick, tick, tick. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You stare at it like it's going to lunge. It shouldn't be here. You buried it in a garbage bag 2 years ago, tied shut, tossed in a construction bin, and yet here it is, balanced, winding itself, like a pendulum counting down to something you can't stop. What if you've been the suspect all along? You pick it up, careful not to stop the motion, as if interrupting it might shatter the moment. There's something taped to the underside. A slip of lined notebook paper, folded tight, stained faintly with what might be ash. Do you remember the last song she played? You don't. You lied when the detective asked, said you didn't pay attention to things like that. But you did. It was something soft, melancholy, wordless, the kind of peace that haunts you, not because it's sad, but because it sounds like goodbye. You drop the metronome. It hits the carpet and keeps ticking. You sit on the edge of the bed and try to think. She played it the night she told you she was leaving, that she was tired of the lies, tired of you, and you begged, and you yelled, and you followed her. And now she's a ghost wrapped in photos and secrets and ticking sounds that won't let you sleep. You run your hands over your face and breathe into your palms. Something feels off. You look down. There's dirt under your fingernails again. You scrub them raw after the woods. You know you did. And yet, it's back. Like the past won't stop clawing out of you. You rush to the bathroom. Flip on the light. The mirror is fogged. You didn't shower. You wipe it clean with your forearm and freeze. There's something behind you. Not a figure, a message, drawn in condensation, shaky handwriting. Tick tock. It's almost time. Your breath leaves your body. Everyone lies, especially the ones in the mirror. You whip around. Nothing. No one. You back away, pulse in your throat. The clock on the wall reads 3:03 a.m. And for the first time, you hear it. Not just ticking, screaming. The metronome, the clock, your own heartbeat. It all sinks into a rhythm of panic. Tick, tock, scream. Tick, tock, scream. You stagger out of the bathroom, and then you see at your front door, wide open, swinging, rain blowing in, a single boot print on the floor, and beside it, something small, a music box. Her music box. You pick it up. It's already playing. That same wordless melody, slow, hollow, familiar. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You sit down on the floor, back against the wall, music box cradled in your hands like a child with a loaded gun. You want to rewind, to undo, to forget, but the clock keeps ticking, and the scream never stops. The voice on the tape. You don't sleep. You sit there, on the cold hardwood floor, back pressed against the wall, the music box still whimpering its lullaby. Your eyes stay on the open door until dawn creeps in, pale and exhausted, like someone else who's seen too much and can't look away anymore. You finally shut the door, lock it, bolt it, nail it shut if you have to, but it won't help, because what's haunting you doesn't need doors. On the table sits a plain padded envelope. You don't remember it being there. Your name is scrawled across the front, no stamp, no address, just your name, like the sender knew exactly where it would land, like they watched you long enough to choose the perfect moment. Inside a cassette tape, dusty, labeled in black marker, play me. You knew, but pretended you didn't. There's only one place left in the apartment, with a tape deck, the old stereo in the closet, buried under boxes. You haul it out, plug it in, pop the tape into the player. You hesitate, then press play. The sound is grainy at first, static, hissing, like something is being dragged out of the dark, one crackle at a time. Then her voice, soft, familiar, too familiar. Is it on? Okay, this is stupid. A laugh, nervous, uncertain. I don't even know why I'm recording this, but I guess I need to talk to someone. And if something happens to me, you freeze. The tape whirs. If something happens to me, and you're listening to this, then maybe you should be scared. Because you always think you can control the ending, don't you? She pauses, and then, quieter. I saw you in the woods. I know what you did. And I know you weren't alone. Your chest tightens like a noose. What if you've been the suspect all along? You press pause, stand, pace, try to catch your breath, but the silence makes it worse. So you press play again. Her voice returns sharper now. Tired, you think you buried everything that night, but you left footprints. You left pieces, and someone's going to find them. A faint noise in the background, footsteps, wind breathing, and if they do, I hope they make you listen, over and over, until you hear what I heard, until you see what I saw. Click, the tape ends, but the stereo doesn't stop. The tape reverses, automatically. It starts playing again, backward. You slam the stop button. Your hands are shaking, palms sweating. Your heartbeat feels out of sync with reality. You eject the tape, but something's wedged behind it. Another note, folded and damp. You pull it free. You're halfway there. Want to hear the rest. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You drop the note and stare at the player. The cassette slot hangs open like a mouth mid-sentence. She recorded that tape, maybe the night before, maybe hours before the woods swallowed her whole. But she knew you weren't the only one there. And now, someone else has the rest of that recording. You pace the room, her words on repeat in your mind. Your chest won't stop constricting. Your thoughts are spiraling in the same rhythm as the metronome tick, tick, tick. A notification pops up on your phone. Unknown number. One new voicemail. You press play. Same voice, her voice, only this time, she's not talking. She's singing that same melody from the music box, and behind it, laughter. Male, low, familiar, yours. Everyone lies, especially the ones who say they're innocent. You throw the phone across the room. It hits the wall, screen shattering like your last excuse. Someone is reconstructing the night piece by piece. Someone who wants you to relive every second, not for closure, but for confession. The cracked mirror. Truth. You should be numb by now. But numbness requires distance. And this story won't let you breathe long enough to step back. Every time you think you've hit the bottom, another layer peels away. Another voice, another photograph, another twist of the knife. You leave the apartment before nightfall. The walls are too loud. The silence is too personal. You drive without knowing where. The streets guide you, or maybe the guilt does. Either way, your car ends up on a gravel road you haven't driven in years. Not since everything started unraveling. The cabin is still here. The old place where she used to go when things got too loud. She'd escaped the city. The expectations. You told the cops you hadn't been here in years. You lied. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You kill the engine and step out. The place is exactly the same except for the broken window. The one that looks like it's been punched in, not out. As if someone needed to get inside badly. You hesitate at the door. It's already open. You should leave. You go in. Inside. The air is musty with rot and dust. The furniture wears sheets like shrouds. The fireplace is blackened with soot and time. A half-burned photo lies in the grate, her face partially melted. One eye still watching, but it's the mirror that draws you. Above the mantel, cracked, jagged lines running through the glass like a spider web across time. You step in front of it, look into it, and see something you can't explain. Your reflection bleeding. You touch your face. Nothing there, but in the mirror, blood trickles from your temple. Lips split, shirt torn. A version of you that looks like it's already been punished. You blink, and the reflection is gone. Back to normal. Just you. What if you've been the suspect all along? You look closer. There's something behind the mirror. A sliver of paper wedged between the cracks. You dig your fingers in, ignoring the sharp edge that slices your thumb. You pull it out. A torn page from a journal. Her handwriting. He says it was an accident, that I slipped. But I didn't slip. I screamed. And he looked afraid, not for me, for himself. You stagger back. You never read her journal. You assumed she didn't keep one. But someone found it. And now they are feeding it to you in pieces. On the back of the page, behind the mirror, there's always a second image. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You run your fingers along the back of the frame, loose wood. You pry it off. Inside the wall, tucked in the hollow behind the mirror, a box, locked, old. You recognize it. She used to keep letters in it, memories, but you haven't seen it since the week before she died. You thought it was gone. You carry it to the table, find a fire poker, smash the lock. Inside photos, notes, a USB stick, and a necklace Her necklace, the one she never took off, the one you found missing when the body was pulled from the earth. You remember that night, how strange it was, how her neck was bare. You told yourself animals must have taken it. You lied. Everyone lies, especially the ones digging for absolution. You plug the USB into your car's dashboard on the way back. There's only one file, a video. You park, press play. It's her, filming herself in this very cabin. Eyes tired, voice brittle. I'm scared, she says. Not of what he'll do, but of what I'll do if I stay. She pauses. He says he loves me, but love doesn't dig holes. The screen glitches, then cuts to black. You sit there for a long time, engine off, watching your breath cloud the windshield. Outside, the streetlight flickers, and in the cracked mirror of your mind, one truth finally emerges. She didn't slip, you didn't stumble, and someone else was always watching. Someone's been digging. You return to the woods at dawn. This time, there's no hesitation, no illusion that you're just checking on the past. You know the ground is speaking now, louder than your lies ever could. The air bites sharper, colder. The forest is still, but it feels alert, like it remembers you. And it does. You follow the old trail, half overgrown, yet unmistakably familiar. The path you walked that night, the route your boots crushed as you dragged what you couldn't carry emotionally. You reach the clearing. Your breath catches. Someone's been here. Again, the grave has changed. The dirt is still churned, but it's been reshaped. A second hole has been started beside the first, deeper, cleaner. Someone is looking for something, or someone. You kneel beside the new pit. The soil is loose, the scent fresh and metallic. A faint buzz of flies hums nearby. They only come for what's recent. You dig with your bare hands, afraid and driven, 2 inches down. Your fingers strike something smooth, plastic, a Ziploc bag, inside a photograph. This one is in color, her body exhumed, sprawled on damp leaves, throat exposed, eyes shut. Your stomach lurches. The image is dated yesterday. You drop the photo like it burns. You knew, but pretended you didn't. What if you've been the suspect all along? You look around. Every tree now a possible witness. Every branch a crooked finger pointing. There's something else in the hole. A shoe. You pull it free. Mud-caked. Old. Familiar. It takes a second before recognition sets in. Your shoe. The left one. The pair you wore that night. You thought you burned them. Tossed them in a dumpster behind the diner. Watched the flames dance. Watched the memory burn. You lied. And now someone has them. You step back, heart hammering. There's a sound behind you, soft, deliberate. Leaves crunch. You spin. No one, but a fresh trail cuts through the brush, subtle, recent. You follow it, deeper into the woods. Every step feels like penance. At the end of the path, a tree, massive, old, twisted like it's in pain, nailed to its trunk a map, a copy of the police diagram from the original investigation, labeled crime scene photos, her body, your car, Darren's address, your apartment, the cabin, crosses marked in red, and one final X, labeled next. You stare at it, then realize it's your current address. The past isn't chasing you, it's leading you. It was never about the truth, it was about control. You hear a click, you turn. A trail cam strapped to a tree. The red light blinks. Someone is recording this. You rip it down, smash it against a rock, but it doesn't matter. You were already seen, already documented, already archived. Everyone lies, especially the ones who say the dead stay buried. Back at the car, you find something resting on the windshield. A gift, wrapped in brown paper. No tape, just string. Neat, ritualistic. You unwrap it slowly. Inside your wallet, the one you lost a year ago, the one you told yourself had been stolen. It contains her driver's license, her, a matchbook from the bar, a key to the cabin, a photograph of the two of you, and a note. One of these doesn't belong to you, but you kept it anyway. You sit down in the dirt. Your legs have no strength left. The woods no longer echo your guilt. They amplify it. The past isn't resurfacing. It's being curated. Someone has been digging not just the grave, but into every piece of your life. And now, it's your turn to dig deeper. The lie you told yourself. You sit in your car for what feels like an hour, hands trembling on the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the photo from the woods, the one with her limp body lying in a bed of wet leaves. You keep waiting for it to blur, to change, to turn into something else, but it never does. She's just there, still, dead, unburied again. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Back home, the air feels hollow, like a room that's been vacated seconds before you arrived. Something's changed, a shift too subtle to see, but not too quiet to feel. You check the locks, still shut. You check the blinds, still drawn, but your bedroom door is slightly open. You remember closing it. You always do. It's a habit like guilt or denial. You push it open slowly. Everything looks untouched until you see the notebook, your old therapist's journal. It's sitting on the bed. You haven't seen that notebook in years. You weren't even supposed to. Confidentiality. They said protected notes, burned after closure. But here it is. You sit, open the first page. It's her handwriting. Dr. Keene, the one who said you had suppressed trauma, the one who asked questions you dodged with half smiles and made up anecdotes. She said you were afraid of something, but not what happened. What you did, you flipped through slowly, page after page of your sessions. Paranoia, dissociation, emotional detachment. But then, entries you don't remember discussing. He said he couldn't recall that night clearly. He was too drunk, too emotional, too something. But I think he remembers. He's just not ready to admit it. You turn another page. He mentioned dirt under his nails. Again, the detail haunts him, yet he won't say why. Another. I worry what will happen when he finally confronts what he's done. He's built his entire identity around the lie he told himself. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You skip to the last page. It's blank, except for one sentence. In red ink, not her handwriting. You're ready now. What if you've been the suspect all along? Your hands shake as you close the notebook. Why was it here? Where did it come from? You pick it up too light. You flip it again and find a slit, power, into the back cover. Inside a flash drive, no label, no clue, just wait. You plug it into your laptop. Heart thudding. One folder, titled The Lie. Inside videos, security footage, street cams, ATM recordings, all from that night. All time-stamped within minutes of each other. You click the first one. A gas station. You and her. Mid-argument. She's crying. You're gripping her wrist. Click the next. Her walking away. You following. Click again. You standing by the car. Someone else emerging from the shadows. Not you. Not her. A third figure. Hooded. Face turned. Barely captured. The footage cuts to black. You pause. You were never alone. It was never about the truth. It was about control. and someone has all of it. A pop-up flashes on the screen. New email. No sender. Subject line. Look again. The message is blank, except an attached file. You hesitate, then open it. It's audio. More therapy sessions, but this time, not yours. Darren's. He's speaking slowly, uneasy. She never told him that she saw me, that I followed them into the woods. I didn't mean for it to go that far, but once it started, I couldn't stop it. The file ends. Silence. You stare at the screen. Everything you believed, all the twisted knots of memory just loosened. You didn't kill her, but you buried her. Because you thought you did. Everyone lies, especially the ones who tell themselves they had no choice. And now, someone has been peeling the lie back layer by layer until you're exposed, until there's nothing left to bury. The confession that wasn't yours. You stare at the laptop screen until your eyes blur. Darren. It was Darren. Or at least that's what the tape says. But the voice in your head argues louder than the one on the recording. No one forced you to bury her. No one made you run. No one made you forget. You close the laptop. It doesn't feel like relief. It feels like abandonment. Like the foundation you built your guilt on is cracking, and all that's left beneath it is confusion. You stand up and nearly trip over something at your feet. A box. Brown cardboard. Unmarked. Taped shut. You didn't order anything. You didn't hear a delivery. You kneel slowly and open it. Inside, a bottle of whiskey, your old brand. A dirt-streaked photograph of a grave, recent. A pack of matches. And a folded piece of printer paper. You unfold it. It's a suicide note, dated last week, signed in your name. I did it. I couldn't live with it anymore. You reread it, heart clenching tighter each second. Your handwriting, every loop, every slash, every line disguised as guilt, perfectly replicated. You knew, but pretended you didn't. The paper slips from your fingers like it's rejecting you. The bottle, the matches, the timing. Someone's staging an ending, one you don't survive. What if you've been the suspect all along and now they're writing your final chapter? You grab the phone, call Darren. No answer. You try again. Still nothing. You text him. We need to talk. Now. Delivered. Not read. You head to his apartment. Fast. His street is quiet when you arrive. Too quiet. You knock. No answer. You try the knob. Unlocked. Inside. The place is trashed. Furniture overturned. Papers scattered. A television still playing static. And on the wall, scrawled in red marker, sins rot slower than bodies. You move through the apartment cautiously. Every creak of the floorboard sounds like it might break beneath you. In the bathroom you find blood. Not a pool. Just smears. A towel. A cracked mirror. But no Darren. His phone is on the sink. Screen lit with a message he never read. From you. Only you didn't send it. It's over. Come to the cabin. I'm ready. You stagger back. You didn't send that text. You didn't write that suicide note. But someone's pulling your strings like a marionette dancing toward the noose. It was never about the truth. It was about control. Back in your car, your phone buzzes. Unknown number. You open the message, check your mailbox. One last confession. You race home, keys shaking in your hands. The mailbox creaks open like a throat clearing before a sentence that changes everything. Inside one envelope, you tear it open. It's a page from a diary, but not hers, not Darren's, not your therapist's. Yours, a journal you burned years ago, a spiral-bound notebook where you poured everything in the weeks after she died. A journal You were too afraid to finish. The page reads, I saw what he did. I didn't stop him. I thought maybe it was justice. But when she stopped breathing, something in me stopped too. I buried her. I buried the truth. And I buried the part of me that could live with it. You wrote this. You remember the weight of the pen, the way your hand trembled, the way you couldn't finish the next sentence. And now, someone has finished it for you. In the corner of the page, scribbled in red confession accepted. Everyone lies, especially the ones who sign their own names to someone else's ending. You sink to the floor, the paper trembling in your hands. Someone is building a version of your life, one where you die guilty, alone and misunderstood. And the worst part, you're not sure they're wrong. Her sister's return. You barely register the doorbell when it rings 3 times. Slow, deliberate, the same rhythm as the knock that started all of this. You almost don't answer. Almost let it ring again and again until it becomes background noise like everything else you've learned to ignore. But something tells you this isn't just another delivery, another message, another ghost from the machine. You open the door, and there she is, Ivy, her sister. Back, she looks different now, sharper, colder. The softness she used to carry, gone. Her jaw is tighter, her hair darker, but the eyes are the same shade that used to stare at you from across crowded rooms when you still believed the world hadn't decided your fate yet. You going to let me in? She asks. You step aside. No questions, no greeting. She walks in like she never left, like this place still owes her something. And maybe it does. I thought you moved away. You say, your voice dry, unused. I did. She looks around, eyes lingering on the photos, the cracked metronome still ticking on the table. But I came back. Someone mailed me something. Your stomach clenches. She pulls a photo from her coat pocket, the same photo you received. Her, you, the car, and in the background, that blurred figure, watching. They said you needed help. Ivy says that you weren't telling the whole truth. You knew, but pretended you didn't. You sit on the couch, rubbing your temples. I thought it was me. For a long time, I really did. Ivy doesn't respond. She sits across from you, cool, collected. What happened that night, she asks. Flat. You hesitate. She watches you, then says, tell me the version you've rehearsed 1,000 times, and then tell me the one that wakes you up at 3 a.m. What if you've been the suspect all along? You speak slowly. The night, the fight, the scream, the woods, the dirt. But then the memory fractures, and Ivy fills in the cracks. She called me. She says, that night, said she was scared, said she didn't trust you, but she also didn't trust Darren. Your head snaps up. She said that Ivy nods. She told me he was following her, showing up at work, leaving notes on her windshield. You never knew that. She didn't want to get him in trouble. Ivy says, didn't want to ruin your friendship. She was protecting both of you. You laugh. It sounds bitter, cracked. She ended up dead for her trouble. Ivy looks down. I don't think she ever thought she'd end up buried. Silence stretches. Then she says, you weren't alone that night, were you? You shake your head. No. You tell her about the video, the voice on the tape, Darren's therapy session, the USB, the diary page. She listens without interrupting, her expression unreadable. When you're done, she opens her bag and pulls out something else. A necklace, her necklace. Not the one you found in the music box, the real one. She places it on the table. I found it in Darren's closet, tucked in an envelope, with a note. She hands it over. Scrawled in red ink. He thought it was love. It was ownership. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You lean back, stunned. All this time, you carried the guilt like a cross, but maybe someone else built it for you. Ivy rises. I'm not here for revenge, she says, but I need to know who buried her the truth this time. No edits. I buried her, you say, but I didn't kill her. Ivy nods slowly. That's what she said in the message. You blink. What message? She recorded a voice memo. Ivy says, right before she died, I never opened it. I couldn't. Until last week. She pulls out her phone, presses play. Her sister's voice. Faint, tired, broken. I don't think I'll make it out of here. If I don't, tell him. Tell him I know he didn't mean for it to happen, but he still let it. He let me go. And that's something he'll have to live with. Silence. Then, and Darren, I'm sorry I ever trusted you. Click. Everyone lies, especially the ones you want to believe the most. You and Ivy sit in the quiet. No one speaks. There are no words left, only choices. And one final trail, the wedding ring in the drain. Ivy stays the night, not because you ask her to, not because you want company, but because neither of you trusts being alone anymore. She sleeps on the couch, fully clothed, her coat bunched behind her head like a pillow. She doesn't ask for a blanket. She doesn't ask for anything. She's just present. You try to sleep. You don't. At 3:17 a.m. because it's always somewhere around 3 you hear it. Clink, clink, drip from the bathroom. You rise, slowly, carefully. You glance at Ivy, eyes closed, but you know she is not sleeping either. You push the door open. The sound is louder now. The sink is dripping, faucet off, but water still coming. You lean in, then you see it, in the basin, catching the light in slow, deliberate flashes. A ring, her ring, the wedding ring, the one she threw at you during that last argument, the one that skittered across the floor and vanished like it was never meant to be worn again. You looked for it. You never found it. And now, here it is, in the drain, half submerged. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Your hand shakes as you reach for it. You pull it free, still cold, still etched with the inscription, all the ways home. She said that once, in the middle of an ordinary Tuesday, that no matter how far things fell apart, you'd find your way back to each other. You buried that memory, along with everything else. What if you've been the suspect all along? You turn the ring over in your hand. There's a crack through the band, split, like a promise kept too long. You stare at your reflection in the mirror, but it isn't just your face anymore. It's hers behind you, not a ghost, not quite, a projection, a memory. She's staring at you, eyes unreadable, face tired, silent. Then she lifts her hand, points to the drain. You turn. Nothing. No photo. No note. Just a folded piece of paper, soaked and wedged in the curve of the pipe. You grab tweezers and extract it, careful not to tear it. It unfolds in your palm, the ink running. You kept the ring, but you let go of me. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You stumbled back, breath ragged. Outside, Ivy stirs. What is it? She asks from the living room. You show her the ring, the note. Her face shifts. She recognizes it. She wrote that in her journal. That exact line. I remember. She was talking about you. She gave up. You murmur. She didn't. Ivy says. She kept believing until someone made sure she couldn't anymore. You sit beside her, the two of you, side by side, orbiting the same grief from opposite ends. I think she knew Darren followed us. You say, I think she was going to confront him. That's why she walked off after the bar. That's why she didn't let me come with her. Ivy nods slowly. And you followed anyway. Too late. You whisper, I found her after. She was already. You can't say the word. You don't have to. I buried her. You say again. The word's a ritual now. Because I didn't think anyone would believe me. Because I didn't want to be the villain in her story. Ivy looks at you. You were, for a while, silence. Then, but maybe you don't have to be the ending. Everyone lies, especially the ones trying to rewrite the past. You hold the ring tightly. A symbol, a turning point, and maybe an opening. Because whoever left it in the drain, they were in this apartment. Recently, watching, listening, guiding you back to the beginning. And now, the only question left is why. The stranger in your bed. Morning creeps in reluctantly. Sunlight bruised behind thick clouds. You and Ivy sit in silence over black coffee. The kind that tastes like guilt and time wasted. Neither of you says much. There's nothing left to speculate. Only choices now. You both know it's coming to a head. The ring, the diary page, the suicide note that wasn't yours, and the truth that doesn't quite fit into a single version of events. Ivy leaves before noon, needing to check her hotel. You promise to stay put. You don't plan to. But first, you shower. Steam fills the bathroom, fogs the mirror. For the first time in weeks, you feel almost clean. You dry off, numb, hollowed out by too many nights and too many memories. You open the door and walk into the bedroom and freeze. There's someone lying in your bed. You stand still, towel clenched in your fist, heart crashing against your ribs like a prisoner rattling the bars of a cage. She's facing away, still, breathing, long dark hair, bare shoulders, one hand resting softly on your pillow, wearing her perfume. That's the first thing that hits you, that scent. Jasmine, sandalwood, something sweeter underneath. A fragrance you buried with her. A fragrance that now haunts the air like a verdict. You step forward. The woman shifts slightly. You see a glint around her neck. A necklace. Her necklace. Not Ivy's copy. Not a replica. The necklace. You can't move. You knew, but pretended you didn't. What if you've been the suspect all along? Your throat tightens. Then she speaks, softly, casually. You always used to breathe like that when you lied. The voice is close, too close. She turns, and it's not her, but she looks like her, almost perfectly, and she's smiling, like this is a game she's been playing in your house for days, maybe weeks. You stagger back. Who are you? The woman sits up slowly, pulling the sheets to her chest like you're the intruder. I'm the part of her you couldn't bury. You blink. She laughs. It's not unkind. You want something concrete. Names. Motives. But this story isn't about solving. It's about reckoning. I'm calling the police. You mutter, grabbing your phone. No, you're not, she says, because they won't believe you. Not after everything they've seen. Not after the tape. Not after the suicide note. You stop, because she's right. She swings her legs out of the bed and stands, slowly wrapping a silk robe around her frame like she belongs here. Like she's always belonged here. I've been here every night, she says, watching you circle the truth, watching you try to decide who you want to be. She moves closer, unblinking. I'm the one who made you dig her up. Your mouth is dry. Why? She tilts her head. Because you never finished the story. You just paused it. You froze the night and called it guilt. But guilt isn't justice. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You feel dizzy. Ivy will be back. You say, she knows. She doesn't know this, the woman says, gesturing to herself. She doesn't know about the night in the bar, about what you whispered to her sister right before she walked away. You flinch, because no one knows that, not even Ivy. What do you want from me? The woman smiles again. A choice. She reaches into your nightstand and pulls out an envelope, your handwriting on the front. To Ivy. You don't remember writing it. She places it on the bed. I leave tonight, she says. And either you give her this, or you don't. But one way or another, the ending changes. You reach for the envelope. Inside, a letter. It's yours. It reads, I buried her because I thought I deserved to be punished, because I was afraid of the truth, because I let someone else do the worst part. And then I cleaned up the rest. At the bottom, tell her I'm sorry for everything I did and everything I didn't do. You look up. She's gone. No door creaked. No window opened. No trace. Just the scent, lingering like a scar you've never stopped touching. Everyone lies, especially the ones who come back to finish the story. And now, you know, she was never entirely gone. She just waited until you were ready to meet the version of her you couldn't forget. The journal, under the floorboards. You don't sleep. You sit at the edge of the bed, the letter to Ivy clutched in your hands like a loaded confession. The air feels thicker now, the walls closer, the scent of her perfume still here, clinging to the corners of the room like it doesn't care about time or logic or death. You keep expecting her, the stranger, to come back, but she doesn't. And somehow, that's worse. By dawn, the silence feels accusatory again. You get up, move without knowing why, like something's guiding you, not a voice, not a vision, just pressure, like memory has weight, and it's pulling you to the hallway closet. You open it, coats, boxes, old boots, and that loose floorboard, the one you stepped on dozens of times, the one that creaked but never cracked. Until today, you press your foot against it. It sinks just enough. You kneel, fingers trembling, and pry it loose. Underneath, dust, nails, an old tape recorder, and a journal. Not hers, yours, your real one. Not the one you burned, the one you forgot. You knew, but pretended you didn't. What if you've been the suspect all along? You pull it out slowly, like unearthing a time capsule you buried out of fear, not nostalgia. The first few pages are aimless, rambling, written in nights after whiskey and insomnia. But then, the night of the murder, detailed, specific, not just your movements. Darren's. You wrote about how he followed her out of the bar, how he cornered her in the woods, how you stayed back, out of sight, watching how she tried to push past him, and how he pushed back, how she hit her head, stumbled, collapsed, how he panicked, how you stepped forward, too late to save her, too afraid to call for help, and how you made a choice. I buried her because I thought if I covered the body, I could cover the truth, that I watched her die, that I didn't stop it. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You feel sick because you've been trying so hard to remember what happened that night when really you've known all along. You just rewrote it, softened it, until it stopped hurting. You flip to the back cover. Something's taped there, an old key to a storage unit. You recognize the tag, the one Darren used for his construction gear, his off-the-books tools. You haven't thought about that unit in years, but you know the location by heart. It's across town. You're already moving. 30 minutes later, you stand outside the rusted blue door. Unit 112. You insert the key. Turn it. The metal door rolls up with a groan that sounds too much like grief. Inside, it's cleaner than it should be. Plastic bins, labeled shelves, power tools, and in the back a trunk, unlocked. Inside, a set of bloody clothes, her missing purse, your lighter, and a camcorder. You stare at it for a long time. You press play, and the screen flickers to life. It's her and Darren. They're arguing. He's grabbing her arm. She's pushing him, screaming. The audio's grainy, but her voice cuts through. Don't touch me. You don't own me. Then a flash. She falls. He panics, and the camera shakes because you grab it, and the screen goes dark. You remember now. You picked up the camera. You watched it through the lens like it wasn't real. Then you turned it off, and you started digging. Everyone lies, especially the ones who hold the camera. You sit down on the concrete floor, the journal in your lap, the video still humming, the truth fully uncovered, and yet nothing feels resolved, because knowing isn't the same as atoning. The phone buzzes. It's Ivy. One line, I'm ready when you are. She knows, maybe not everything, but enough. You look around the storage unit. This was the vault, not for evidence for memory. And now that it's open, the story can't be sealed again. You grab the journal, the camera, and the key, because the only way to end this is to give it to someone who never stopped asking the right questions. The trial, without a jury. It doesn't take long to arrange. Ivy doesn't want a courtroom. She doesn't want cops. She doesn't trust the system that failed her sister the first time around. And you don't blame her. She wants something else. Closure, clarity, and something that looks enough like justice to finally let her sleep. You agree. So, the two of you meet at the cabin, where it started, where it nearly ended, and where, tonight, it will finally unfold. She sits in the old chair by the fireplace, the one with the burn mark on the armrest. You take the spot across from her, the evidence box between you like a third presence in the room. The wood crackles in the hearth. Wind slips through the warped window panes. And somewhere outside, the trees hold their breath. You open the box. She watches. Inside the camcorder, your journal, her sister's necklace, the photo from the grave, the fake suicide note, the recording from Darren's therapy. You line them up, one by one, like exhibits. But there's no jury here, just you, Ivy, and the truth. You hand her the camcorder first. She watches the video in silence. Her face doesn't flinch when her sister appears, or when Darren shoves her, or when her head hits the rock. But her hand tightens around the strap. And when the camera shakes, when your reflection appears in the dark glass of the lens, her eyes slowly rise to meet yours. You watched her die. She says, flat. I didn't know what to do. You didn't do anything. She says, that's the difference. You knew, but pretended you didn't. She holds up the camcorder. This is enough to bury Darren. You nod. I know. But what about you? She asks. That question hovers in the air like smoke. You don't have a good answer. You reach for the journal. Flip to the marked page. She reads your handwriting. She closes the book without a word. Then I used to think you killed her, she says. That it was just a matter of time before you slipped. You weren't wrong. You whisper. Weren't I? She replies. Because this version, the one where you buried her to protect your friend, to protect yourself, this one might actually be worse. She leans forward. Because you could have stopped it. What if you've been the suspect all along? You reach into the box. pull out the fake suicide note. Someone wanted me to die for this. You say, someone staged everything to make me confess. But you didn't. She says, not really. You pass her the USB with the therapy session. Darren's voice. You say, he admitted following her, scaring her, losing control. And you cleaned up after him. Ivy replies. Silence again. The fire pops. It was never about the truth. It was about control. I'm not asking you to forgive me, you say, or to protect me. Good, she says, because I'm not here to do either. She opens her coat, pulls out a manila envelope, slides it across the floor. Inside a copy of everything. The video, the photos, the tape. It's going to the police, she says, but not yet. You glance up. I want him to know first. She continues. I want him to wake up one morning, see the news, and realize the whole world knows who he is now. You nod, and me. She shrugs. That's up to you. You're free to run, or stay, or confess. You sit back, because that's it, isn't it? The trial without a jury. No judge, no sentencing, just a choice. And whatever comes after. Everyone lies, especially the ones who think silence is mercy. You look at the fire. It burns steady, no longer demanding, just waiting. Like it knows, finally, this is the part where someone has to take the fall. You hand her the letter, the one addressed to her, the one the stranger in your bed left behind. She doesn't open it. Not yet. She stands, looks at you one last time, then says, whatever you decide, make sure it means something. She leaves. The cabin door closes behind her like a gavel, and you're alone again, with the evidence, with the flame, with the version of yourself you can't outrun anymore. The fire that didn't burn, everything. You sit in the cabin long after Ivy leaves, surrounded by everything you never meant to keep. The fire crackles softly now, less like judgment, more like a whisper. You stare at the evidence box, what's left of it. The journal, the camcorder, the forged suicide note, the photo of her body dug up and re-exposed to daylight. Each item radiates a different kind of heat. You think about the first time you tried to burn the truth, the night after the burial. You tossed your blood-stained shirt into a trash fire behind the diner, poured whiskey on it, told yourself fire purifies, fire forgets. But fire doesn't forget. It archives, it preserves, it smolders. And now you understand. You grab a poker, stir the embers. The fire flares up, casting jagged shadows on the walls. You toss the fake suicide note in first, then the journal. You hesitate at the camcorder. You press play one last time. Her voice, her scream, the fall, the silence. You let it run until the battery flashes red. Then you drop it in. It catches slow. The plastic hissing like it wants to fight back, but it melts. Eventually, everything does. You knew, but pretended you didn't. What if you've been the suspect all along? You reach for the last item in the box, a folded, scorched piece of paper. You almost missed it. It must have slid under the false bottom. The heat has curled the edges, but the ink faded, but legible still speaks. It's a note from her to Darren. I trusted you, not because I thought you were harmless, but because I thought you were too broken to hurt anyone else. That was my mistake. A date is scrawled in the corner, the night before she died. You sit back, feel it all again. The weight of that night, the pressure of doing nothing, of watching, of failing, of continuing to fail. It was never about the truth. It was about control. And that control is shifting now. The fire consumes the last note. It flickers, rises, dies, but you don't feel lighter. Not yet. You look around the cabin. Every corner feels like a memory you don't deserve to carry. Every wall like a courtroom waiting for a verdict. You step outside, into the brittle dawn. The woods are quiet. A layer of fog hovers near the ground. It parts as you walk through it, but closes behind you like it's erasing your trail, like it's saying no more running. You reach the car. Your phone buzzes. Unknown number. One last message. We watched. We recorded. We remember. But now, what will you do? No signature. No location. Just accountability. Everyone lies, especially the ones who think fire erases footprints. You drive back to town in silence. The police station waits at the end of the road like a question. You park across the street. The engine ticks softly as it cools. You sit there. 5 minutes. 10. You look down at your hands, clean now. No more dirt under your nails, but the blood, the silence, the guilt still there. And maybe that's the point. Not to erase it, but to own it. You step out of the car and cross the street. The wrong body in the grave. The station is quiet. Too quiet for this hour. You expect paperwork, fluorescent lights, an overworked desk sergeant looking to file you under somewhere else. Instead, the man behind the counter looks up with mild recognition. Name you give it. He frowns, types something, scans the screen. You've been flagged. Figured I might be. You say. He doesn't ask why, just picks up the phone and says, he's here. Minutes later, they lead you to a small interview room. Not an interrogation cell, just a room. Like they're still deciding what you are. Victim, witness, suspect, burden. You sit and wait. After 20 minutes, a man walks in. Not uniform, not rushed. Detective Sloan. You remember him from the early days. He didn't like you much then. He doesn't pretend to now. He sits across from you, lays a file on the table. I've got something strange, he says, opening it. A Jane Doe dug up in the woods. You nod. I know. He narrows his eyes. Here's the thing, he says, flipping to the autopsy. We ran a fresh DNA analysis, pulled dental records, double-checked old forensic files. He taps the page. It's not her. You blink. What? The body that was buried. It isn't her. He leans forward. It never was. You knew, but pretended you didn't. No. You whisper, "Hun, I buried her. I saw her face. You buried someone." Sloan says, "But not her." Your heart stops. What if you've been the suspect all along? He says, and someone let you believe that, because it was easier to disappear if the whole world thought you already died. The room spins. Your throat dries. He tosses a photo onto the table. Grainy surveillance footage from 3 weeks ago. A woman at a gas station in Idaho. She looks older, thinner, but it's her, or someone who wears her face like a mask. I don't understand. You murmur, she was dead. You saw what someone wanted you to see. Sloan says, maybe Darren, maybe her, maybe both. He pushes the photo closer. But she's alive, and she's been in hiding. It was never about the truth. It was about control. You stare at the photo, and the timeline collapses. The body, the necklace, the funeral, the memories, all lies built on a single truth. You didn't bury her. Someone else did, or staged it. Why would she do that, you ask, barely breathing. Sloan shrugs. She was scared. She wanted out. She was caught between two dangerous men. You flinch. I didn't. No, but you didn't help her either. He closes the file. There's one more thing. He slides another folder across the table. Inside a letter, written in a hand, to whom it may concern. If this reaches you, it means I failed to disappear for good. Please understand what I did was not for revenge. It was for peace. They wouldn't let me go, so I made them believe I was already gone. Please, don't bring me back. Some ghosts prefer the grave. You press your hand to your forehead. The letter is dated the week after she vanished. You're saying she faked her own death? Sloane nods. With help. And Darren, we think he knew. Sloane says, we think he helped. And then something went wrong. You whisper. Or maybe this was the plan all along. Sloane says, you carry the guilt. He keeps the secret. She disappears. You stare at the photo. She's pumping gas, looking over her shoulder. Not relaxed, not safe, just moving. Everyone lies, especially the ones who vanish too well. Sloane stands. You're not under arrest, he says. Not yet, but we're reopening the case. Officially, you nod, because what else is there to do? You step outside the station into the late afternoon light. It feels different now. You didn't kill her, but you helped bury her. And now she's out there alive. And maybe she's still watching. Maybe this isn't the end. Maybe it never was. You were never alone. The sky over town looks bruised. Purple clouds sagging low like an old wound refusing to heal. You walk without knowing where your feet are taking you, but you feel it in your bones, in your breath, the shift. Everything has changed. She's alive, and suddenly the grief that bound you feels misplaced, not gone, worse, like something you grieved too soon, too hard, only to discover you mourned a lie. You try to imagine her out there, older, cautious, watching the world from behind borrowed names and fake smiles. You try to picture what it must have felt like to bury herself without dying, and worse, what it took to leave you behind. You turn a corner. Your apartment building rises like a familiar sin. You step inside, ride the elevator this time. The world feels slowed, as if every floor passed is another version of your past being sealed shut behind you. You unlock the door and find something on the floor. A package, wrapped in brown butcher paper, tied with red string. You don't hesitate. Not anymore. Inside a photo album. The cover. If you're reading this, I'm gone. You sit on the floor and open it. The first page, a photo of you and her years ago. Blurry, laughing, some beach where neither of you looked haunted yet. Below it, her handwriting. You weren't the worst thing that happened to me. You were just the one I trusted most. You flip the page. Snapshots of her life since the death. Cheap motel rooms. A waitress name tag. A bookstore in a town you've never heard of. All time-stamped, all dated. A timeline of her survival. You knew, but pretended you didn't. Page after page of photos. She looks scared in some, serene in others. One shows her watching a crowd from a rooftop. Another has her staring into a cracked bathroom mirror. Camera at her side. A single word scribbled in lipstick free. And then a Polaroid of you, taken from a distance. You're sitting on a park bench, head down, alone, her handwriting below it. I never stopped checking, but I couldn't come back because you still hadn't forgiven yourself. And until you did, I'd never be safe. You close the album. Your hands shake. What if you've been the suspect all along? Your phone buzzes. Blocked number? You answer. Silence. Then her voice, calm, measured. You needed to know, but I can't let you find me. I can't risk going back. You whisper her name. I'm not angry anymore, she says, but I'm still scared. Not of you, not even of him. She pauses. I'm scared of what the world turns people into when they stop being believed. Your throat closes. I buried you, you say. No, she replies. You buried the version of me who stayed quiet, the one who waited for someone else to make the right choice. Her voice softens, and I buried the version of you who didn't. It was never about the truth, it was about control. But now, she continues, you've seen it, all of it, and so have they. You know she means Ivy, Sloane, whoever else received pieces of this puzzle. She says one last thing. You were never alone. Not that night, not after, not now. Click. The line goes dead. You sit there in your apartment, the light fading, the shadows growing long, and for the first time, you don't feel watched. You feel seen. You stand, walk to the window. The city stretches below you, 1,000 lives hiding 1,000 stories. You watch the dark roll in, and then you close the album, and finally, you let go.